budget challenges for governments right now, particularly with inflation. We're starting to see, the retirement system is certainly going to eventually see the impact of the market volatility, so that's going to catch up. And I would imagine you're going to start to see some rising costs within the retirement system. But really, your contractual costs, capital projects, we're seeing increases across the board. Utilities, gas prices certainly has an impact. So it's not getting any easier, but you're certainly in a stable position to handle those challenges. As far as financially, or not financially, operationally, the biggest risks we're seeing out there, certainly cybersecurity. That's something that you want to keep an eye on, that we're seeing. Governments are typically being targeted now because they tend to have less robust IT staff. So the number of cyber attacks being reported related to government has increased pretty substantially, and a lot of the major associations, the Association of Towns, the Association of Counties, they actually put out what's referred to as a cybersecurity primer back in February. I would encourage you to read it. Yeah.
We just signed up this past year for cybersecurity training.
Perfect.
We got a 3-year program we signed up for. So every user ID or email account in the town gets sent little emails to try to trick them to click on something they're not supposed to, but it's just part of the training.
Yep.
So we figure out who the employees are that are click happy and the ones that do the right thing and send training where it's supposed to go.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly a major factor. And what we're seeing also is the impact on cyber insurance. Cyber insurance, the rates and costs are really starting to skyrocket. And at the bare minimum, they're requiring that before they even give you that cyber insurance, that you have those types of measures in place.
Cyber insurance, I think last year, Matt, didn't they give it to us? They actually threw it in, there was no cost, but they added it into our policy, right?
Yep.
We changed, yes, in insurers, in the policy that we got, cyber insurance was included in the
Yeah, and you're going to start to see that's going to increase in cost. And they're going to require those things like training and policies and procedures. So it's a big area of concern for government. As far as the other areas, more of a benefit, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, that was the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed back in November. Just being aware of what grant opportunities are out there. The GFOA, Government Finance Officers, has a good resource on their website on when these grant opportunities become available and how you can apply for those. So just being aware of that. The American Rescue Plan. The biggest thing we're seeing there is the timeline constraints of spending this money. So you have to have your funds obligated by the end of December 31st, 2024. So we all know how difficult capital projects are to get rolling and get under contract now. So that's just the caution there, is that if you have or planning big projects with those funds, they have to be obligated by the end of 2024. So if you have a project that you don't think is going to launch by then, you may want to look at other uses for the ARPA funds.
And the funds need to be spent by the end of 2026.
They have to be spent full, or they have to be returned at that point.
Spend it, we will.
Okay. So that's the report. Certainly, like I said, from a financial standpoint, stable, but not not small challenges going forward for government.
One thing you mentioned about the cost of living, Matt, we see it here also. The cost of fuel, water, heating, replacement parts for our own systems there, costs are going way up. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge for the city council. Anybody have any questions for that?
See, water is at a break-even point. Do we need to consider raising water rates?
I mean, I think you certainly want to look on the cost side, and how, again, those items, those contractual expenditures are going to trend over the next couple of years. Your fund balance position isn't at a dangerous level, but you may, over the next couple of years, have to consider that. Maybe not over the next year, but looking 3 to 5 years, yeah.
We did have a slight water rate increase this year.
Right, I know, but it's still, okay.
And a dry summer this year too.
Yeah, all factors are considered, yeah.
Because, well, my other question, I know COVID came in 2020, why did highway, Paul, you may be able to, why did everything go down so much? We kept working, we kept doing everything, why did everything go down so much in 2020?
Well, we actually were working part-time, so that's fuel usage and all that went down. Our fuel prices weren't that bad. We were paying like 69 cents a gallon for fuel. Now we're paying 3 something.
And I believe maybe in 2019, there might have been a, purchase of some highway equipment.
Yeah.
So that would have, it probably got encumbered in 2018, got carried over to 2019, the money was spent in 2019, and then it dropped. So I'm assuming it was the purchase of highway equipment.
Yeah, because I think if you look at the trend over the 5 years, 19 is the 1 year that spiked up.
Right.
So it was probably one-time expenditures. I think there were some kind of capital project type expenditures. If you go back to 17 and 18 are more consistent with 20 and 21 on the expense side.
Anybody else? Thank you, Matt, appreciate it. Good to see
Okay,
you.
thanks everyone.
One question, sorry. Too quick for me there, John. So I'm just looking at our general fund, and our fund increased over 70% year over year, right? That's a really nice thing. But what if that trend continues and our general fund goes up another X amount? I mean, does that ever become a problem, or is that always only good?
There's a lot of differing opinions, and what they say, they being the regulatory agencies or the state comptroller, is that you have a fund balance policy that dictates a reasonable range of fund balance that you should have. And then if you go above that level, you have a plan for how you're gonna spend those funds. So typically, if you go above a level where you feel, reasonable, or you feel adequate to operate, you look at one-time capital expenditures, reducing your debt service, your debt load. So you don't wanna, build in more recurring costs. You wanna kind of take care of it with one-time expenditures. So that would be the recommendation. Yeah, you don't necessarily wanna keep going with that unassigned portion to a level where, you're holding too much fund balance. Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for your time. Have a good evening.
We had a chance to clear up, I'm sure you guys want to go through this.
Thank you.
And just for a note, we had a bid opening tonight for the town hall replacement windows, and we received no bids. Mike Clark is not here. No, Mike is here. Mike, come on in, please.
Are we starting?
I was just telling the board that we did not receive any bids, and we're gonna re-advertise, and if you will personally call them to make sure. Did you hear anything from Twin City today?
I did not.
So I'm sorry to say that we didn't receive any bids. Let's rise to the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we pray you grant wisdom to all who are in authority, that order and justice may be upheld to the benefit of all citizens, and guide us to better serve the people of our community. Restrain those who seek to destroy our government. We ask your divine wisdom to rest upon our leaders to guide them and protect us. Amen.
Who would like to all members are present. Can you hear me okay out there? Yes. No? You sure that was better? Any better? Yes. For the record, all members are present. Time for public input, and Holly, did you want to speak tonight or not?
Going to be Joel DeLuise.
I'm sorry?
Joel DeLuise will be speaking for us this evening.
Okay, if you'd like to come and speak now before we, come on out.
I'm going to relate to your third meeting here. Mr. DeLuise is our, secretary of INEC. He is not available this evening.
Mr. Supervisor, knowing the personal and professional relationship you have with Mr. Cooper, I will just let you know, obviously, I'm an introversion of Mr. Cooper. Okay, you have a packet of slides in front of you, so I'll take a page at a time. And for the sake of maybe moving things along with your other items you have tonight, when you see me flip a page in my notes here, you go ahead and flip a page as well. Okay, it might help things a little bit. Okay, so on behalf of the Niagara Military Affairs Council, I would like to thank you for providing the opportunity to present on behalf of the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station, the largest employer in Niagara County, the largest federal facility in our region, and the last existing United States Air Force base in the state of New York. Today we will look at our work as an organization from the perspective of the past, the present, and the future. Now, growth and prosperity, the positive economic impact. We work for the growth and prosperity of the space and those who work and serve here. Also a positive economic impact for our community. NIMAC is always working at least 5 years in the future. Much of the time, as we advocate for the space, we are working for economic development in our community. Our community, small businesses, contractors, laborers of all kinds benefit from our efforts. It's important that our political leaders understand this, and it's imperative that we are part of the economic strategy of our community and our country. To be fair, NIMAC cannot take full credit for these efforts, as we have depended upon and accepted our communities and our community leaders' support. But we have led this effort for more than 25 years. Base realignment and closure, known by its dirty four-letter acronym BRAC, that four-letter word we don't like to say here in government circles, billions of dollars of accumulated annual economic impact since 1995 or 2005 simply would not have taken place. The relationship we have with our federal delegation, Senators Schumer and Gillibrand, Congressmen Higgins and Jacobs, are also an important part of what we do. As base leadership changes from time to time, NIMAC is the continuity over time that the base leadership depends upon. It's important to note that we are Hatch Act compliant and stay out of the political fray. It is necessary that we remain an independent organization so that when we sit down with leadership at an installation, they know that we are not political in any way. We utilize a compatible use plan, commonly we refer to it as a CUP. And this is for working together for sustainable community growth. The base cannot tell a community what they can do. So what does NIMAC do? There are 3 things that I want you to remember about NIMAC today. We advocate for the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station. We work as a liaison, facilitating communication and keeping those lines of communication open. And we strategize on behalf of the installations and the units here. So remembering the past. To be successful, we need to reflect on our history and remember our past experiences. In my opinion, when we were added by the 1995 BRAC Commission to be reviewed,
It was valuable to our community as it woke us up to what we have here. 2005 was much more serious as we found both wings on the initial closure list that would have totally closed the installation. In 2012, the new 2013 military budget, commonly referred to as the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, did not include the 107, and that threatened 850 jobs at NFARS, Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station. Working with our state and federal delegations, we were awarded a remotely piloted aircraft mission for the 107, the long-term enduring mission we were looking for. That same year, the Air Force released their force structure document concerning the future of the Air Force. It included retiring 65 C-130 aircraft from the fleet. We saw this as a serious threat to the future of the 914th Airlift Wing and our base. This is where our mission to strategize comes in. The NIMAC Strategic Committee saw aerial refueling as the future. We again worked with the state and federal delegations as information brokers, informing them of existing infrastructure to support that mission. We worked with our consultant and our major commands, being the Air Mobility Command, which would be the most apropos to us. The 2017 NDAA, released in 2016, included $25 million for the 914 mission change. Again, it's a great success for us. Remembering the past, crucial to our future. So now in the present, businesses here in Niagara County and in our region depend upon this base. Businesses and communities directly benefit from the dollars spent by those who work and serve here. It is no exaggeration to say that the Niagara Falls International Airport would not have been built had we not been successful in our past efforts. CalSpan, the premier independent provider of testing, technology development services, and systems in the aerospace and defense industries, also would not be here at Niagara. So as neighbor and co-worker, referring to our reservists and guardsmen, it is important to note that many of the men and women currently assigned here, who are our friends, family, co-workers, and neighbors, only have the opportunity to serve at Niagara because of the community backing of NIMAC over these past 25 plus years. Many great military careers started at NFARS because community members had the opportunity to serve their country close to home. Reservists and guardsmen are volunteers. They miss time with family and friends and putting themselves in harm's way to represent and defend us. Our local service members have been asked to serve all over the globe. In this year alone, we have witnessed the deployment of local individuals from town of Wheatfield to Alaska, to Africa, to the Middle East, and to Europe, to include Poland, so you know the ramifications of what that meant. I would add at this point that there is directly 129 Wheatfield families, 914th and 107 military personnel exclusively who reside here within the town of Wheatfield. This does not include contractors or other ancillary personnel. This is 129 families here in Wheatfield that are exclusively assigned to 914 and 107. So the service members bring their Western New York culture and perspective with them and bring back their experience and point of view to our community. This has a great impact on the makeup of our community and is the social impact on the base. So we'll talk about now the annual economic impact. NFARS has a very large annual economic impact here in Western New York. 3,000 employees depend on the $100 million annual payroll, and our business community depends on the $200 million in operating expenses. So this equals at least, if not more than, a $300 million annual economic impact. These figures only account for those directly employed on the installation. Additional dollars are spent on contractors and other jobs spurred by activity in NFARS. We'll talk about federal investment in Niagara. In the past 5 years alone, over $300 million has been invested in NFARS to stand up 2 new enduring missions. These are federal dollars invested in Western New York. Projects listed on the slide that you have in front of you are an example of just some of the projects NIMAC has been involved in and shows the importance of NIMAC's advocacy efforts. Communication. Of great importance is our continual advocacy and our work as liaisons and information brokers. Sitting down with leadership here and finding out the needs. Working along with various levels of the Air Force Reserve Command, the Air Mobility Command, the Air National Guard, the Air Combat Command, and then our federal delegation as well. Military leadership legally cannot advocate on their own behalf in the same way a military affairs organization like we can. We also work with the state of New York's consultant in D.C. to move things along through the work of our nation's capital. So community liaison. Our work not only happens within the Air Force, but we keep a continuous dialogue with our community. The biggest threat to an Air Force base is encroachment. We appreciate the towns and the city that surrounds the space that passed ordinances to work closer with the base on development to protect the installation. Through regular meetings and curated opportunities we work to educate and inform our leaders about the military and our military about our community. Our most recent activities related to encroachment include the development of the compatible use plan, the CUP that I referred to before, which will provide an opportunity for communities around the base to receive additional federal dollars for infrastructure projects. So in the area of relationships, it's all about relationships. It is imperative that we continue to visit our nation's capital, the Pentagon, the major commands, and the number of air forces that our wings report to as we advocate. It's important to note that the last couple of years, the leadership in all these organizations has changed. Relationships cannot be built through virtual meetings alone. When possible these past 2 years, our volunteers attended conferences in person to advocate for Niagara. We need to build and strengthen our relationships, and we will attend in-person events when possible. I'll talk about the future. Last year we came to you and said that we did not remember a busier summer for NIMAC for some time, and this year I have to repeat and reiterate the statement. NIMAC subject matter expert volunteers, that's all we are, have been working continually to advocate for NFARS and the community. We greatly appreciate the town and the city's participation in meetings that we believe will bring projects that will positively affect our base for many years to come. So as we strategize and advocate, what is the future for NFARS? Number one, the runway. $6 million in design funding and support from the Air Force Reserve Command was approved in Congress for our new runway. We appreciate Senators Schumer and Gillibrand and Congressman Higgins and Jacobs for their support on this initiative, which is expected to become a $54 million runway enhancement here in the near future. When our strategic committee pushed in the direction of the tanker aerial refueling mission, we knew that it was a needed asset in the Air Force and an enduring mission with plenty of opportunity for growth. It's the same with the remotely piloted aircraft mission. It's an enduring mission with another opportunity for continued growth. Refueling. Air refueling is a force multiplier, and the thirst for jet fuel is unquenchable. The RPA, or remotely piloted aircraft mission, brought a vast communication infrastructure to our base. This infrastructure enhances Niagara and brings opportunities such as the addition of a multi-agency secure facility in cooperation with the Air Force Research Lab, UB, and even possibly some local defense contractors. Again, we have much pride in what we've accomplished. Many thanks to Niagara County, the local municipalities, UB, and defense industry partners on making sure these projects move forward. So I think it's safe to say that we continue to see hope for that in the future. So, here's the best question. Why should you support NIMAC? I don't believe there is another volunteer organization anywhere in New York State that has an economic impact like NIMAC does for such a low cost. We have a low annual budget of $125,000, but which during COVID dropped to $45,000. Our volunteer board of directors brings tremendous expertise. The board is comprised of 1/3 in the business community, 1/3 former military, and 1/3 government, as this gives us expertise at the table in all those areas. The relationship that we have with New York State's military consultants in D.C. is of utmost importance, especially as we work on these large and long-term projects. My message to local and state government is that we are worth the investment. We need your financial support. No fancy office, no big salaries, just the expertise of our dedicated volunteers, such as myself and Colin, that we realize the value of NFARS and its importance to our community. So on the slide that says relationships with local municipalities, you can see the municipalities that support us. We really do appreciate those who support us financially. It is truly a labor of love for us and our community to support this case. And at this time, I'll take your questions.
Well, I would just like to make a comment. Nice job. Greatly appreciate it. I mean, I try to keep touch on everything and attend all the meetings that we make. But I think a report is very important for the general public also to see what's going on. And it looks like the future looks great. The extension of the runway and some of the proposed projects that are coming forward. I'm happy for all the work that you've done and what's going on in place. I appreciate your reports. Very well done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and attention.
Anyone else have any questions?
Is there a future air show in the future coming this way?
We think right now possibly in about 2024.
Probably 2025 is what we put the paperwork in for. It depends on our operations tempo, however. Our pilots will just be coming back from a tour, so it depends on how things go in the world.
I know we were scheduled for one a couple of years ago, but I think they moved it to Buffalo when it was scheduled at our base.
It was not our show, yes.
Okay, but
Yes.
it got moved.
Yes, we were not very happy about that. We want to keep the show in the community. It is the Thunder of Niagara Air Show. It belongs at the Air Reserve Station. The Thunderbirds come to a military installation. An air show is truly about recruitment, and that is why we want to bring people to the installation to see where your taxpayer dollars are spent, and we want to recruit the next generation, and that's what it's all about. And so thank you to the community also for hosting this installation in the community.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much again, very appreciated. Thank you.
John, it should be August first for the minutes, not July.
I'm sorry?
For the minutes, it's August first minutes. For the approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes for August first, 2022. Motion. So. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of bill payment September 12th, 2022, voucher number 20220-791, to vouchers number 2022-1498, with a total amount of $423, and 98 cents. Have a motion, please. Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Let's see, approval of bill payment of August 22nd, 2022. Voucher number 2022-1057 through 2022-1366, with a total amount of $436,381.32. Have a motion, please.
So,
Second. And a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Highway Department, Paul Sigmund.
Well, we're starting to wind down on our road work. We got 2 roads left to do. Chipper will be out till the end of September, first week of October, then we start doing leaves. Once we start doing leaves, Chipper will be off the road for a while. One note, Don brought to my attention, there is a gentleman going around town telling you that the town no longer chips brush, but we're contracting with him to do it. He's lying, he's a thief. If you have this, call the sheriff's department, notify him, try to get a plate number. We're still chipping and we're not paying anybody, and you shouldn't have to pay to get rid of your brush, unless you don't want to wait for us to get there, that's okay too. But we still chip brush in the town. I don't know how this guy came up with this scam, but I guess they've been around in a couple different spots. I believe the sheriff's department is aware of it. Besides that, we're just trying to wind down, get our jobs finished up for the year. We did some drainage projects, we did a lot of road work. And, there was one thing in here, I see approval for me to go to my conference in Elginville. I believe I got a grant. Please approve this still, but I think I got a grant to cover the whole thing. I have not got my confirmation for the grant yet, so that's why I said don't pull that agenda item, but it's possibly gonna be a free class for me. It was paid for by our state association and a local county association. Any questions?
No, Paul, just a comment. I did talk with Mike Belsetti, and he has talked to both local deputies in Wheatfield to keep an eye on these guys wanting to scam, charging people. So he's well aware of it, and he's gonna put it on his website and his newsletter. And it's also gonna be an article like this week.
And my guys are kinda keeping an eye out for it too, to be honest with you.
So, they have a small dump truck and a chipper.
I mean, I'm all about it. If you wanna get rid of the chipper, I'm all about contracting out. I just pain in my rear, but.
But anyway. Rich Downer, water sewer.
Well, most of you have seen the cleaning and painting of the water tank was completed over Labor Day weekend in that vicinity. Scott Heffron Painting did a real nice job on it. They cleaned it up nice. I think the colors look pretty good on it. It's up to Kurt and the beautification committee now if they want to put something on it. But other than that, I think they did a great job on it. Couple things tonight. Matt, I got a couple motions here that I didn't get in, just because I didn't get the information till late. I'd like to purchase another 10 Liberty pumps, grinder pumps, from Bailey Electric at a cost of $14,032. Reason being, and we like to get them now, is because September 15th, they're going up approximately $85 a pump. So, it's,
They're called Bailey pumps?
it's called, Bailey Electric is the company furnishing them, and the, pump manufacturer itself, just like everything else, every couple of weeks now, it seems like we're getting increases in prices, so.
You wanted to do that motion now, or?
Might as well.
Sure. Okay, I'll make the motion.
Yeah, you got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Another thing I got is, permission to send 2 guys to a class for grade D New York State Water Distribution License. That class is gonna be October 17th through the 19th. It'll be held in Dunkirk at Jamestown Community College's off-site campus. Cost is $725 a person.
I'll make the motion. Second. Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Other than that, we're just trying to get through summer and get on to fall. Before you know it, we'll be pumping out hydrants, going through them once a year. We're still trying to get through some grinder tanks as we can to do service on them, but this year's been a little bit of a challenge to get through and take care of things. We still got some leaks we're trying to catch up with, small ones. Doing the best we can.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Rich, while you're here, I know, Tom, we're supposed to have that wall ready to be delivered this Thursday.
Well, okay, I was gonna tell the board about that, but I'm not gonna do it now. The wall itself, the big blocks, the 2x2x4s are complete and they're in storage at Testers right now. Gabby is waiting for the top caps. The caps are supposed to be delivered from another location, to Lockport this coming Thursday. She said as soon as they do see them on site, she'll give me a call and we can start talking about the pickup. Okay?
Thank you. We'll call, as soon as we find out, we'll let you know, hopefully we can, I don't know, Tom, if you wanna run out, or run with them on flatbed when they go to pick it up to make sure everything's very neat. It's up to you.
I think for the sake of the town, it might be a good idea just to have somebody like myself, and I'm willing to do that, just to observe the quality of the product to make sure that, nothing is a little off that we're not gonna want. But I think, after our many discussions that we've had with Gabriel, I believe their quality is gonna be good, but better to take a look.
The other thing is, when I talked to Gabby, and I think you did talk to her also, they're willing to provide the tools, for pickup.
Yes.
And they said as long as we return in a timely manner, we can have them, so.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you. Mike Ronaldi, Recreation Department.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, we held our family picnic at Fairmount Park for the first time in 2 years. And it was a beautiful afternoon, great day, nice to see a lot of businesses support the picnic. A lot of people come out and enjoy themselves for the afternoon. I just wanted to personally thank Councilman Parkman for having presence there all day long. They had 2 guys there on foot, walking around all day, so really did appreciate that. Also, since our last meeting, we have a concession stand, and we have taken down the scoreboards on Diamond 3 and Diamond 4. So those are out. I provided you a list of the auction items, and Kathy, I just thought I did not put them out for you, you could just borrow one of theirs, but you do have that in your possession for motions later on. Other than that, that's really all I got for you tonight.
And you were happy with all of the?
I am. The only one that kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit was the 47-inch quick hitch snow blower. When I got a quote for it to get it fixed, it was like $1,500. That's why we ended up just buying a new one. The new one was like pretty much not even double the price of that. $57.50. I'm not even sure if we would get that scrap, so I would say just let it go, unless somebody objects. But the rest of them, they look like me.
No, we have a motion, just give that the numbers.
It expired tonight at 6 p.m.
Anything else? Anybody have a comment? Thank you. Kelly, our assessor.
Did not do the report for you guys yet, been a little busy, school tax bills went out, numerous phone calls, lots of people are confused between the state now taking over the STAR and the STAR credit compared to the STAR exemption. We spend lots of time on the phone with people explaining that, so just been overwhelmed with school tax bills and the confusion with all of that. So I did not get to that, I will try to get to it in email to all of you, but other than that, we've just been answering phone calls and questions.
What was the major change, Kelly, that people were concerned?
So anybody that purchased and moved into a home that is their primary residence after March 1st of 2015 can no longer have the STAR exemption. They have to have the STAR credit, which is a check that comes to them during the school bill process, sometime between August and the end of September. They get a check in the mail from the state in the STAR amount, where if you lived in your house prior to that March 1st, 2015, you get the exemption, which comes directly off your school tax bill. And then there's been confusion because there was a tax rebate check that came, and everybody thought that that was their STAR credit check, and then people are calling and asking how someone got 2 checks and they only got 1. So it's very confusing, and we spend hours on hours on the phone with these places all day long trying to explain, and I don't know how to make it simple and easy. And they don't understand that why is it from 2015 when it's now 2022 and they're just hearing that. I'm like, I've told you this a million times. I mean, every year, I have them, anytime they buy a house, I mail out a letter saying you have to register for your STAR on the state website. Don't come into my office.
I know we've always said, I think you guys have received calls, questions, and so you're going to need the right answer.
I'm giving them the right answer. I hope you guys are, or just direct them to my office.
Well, that's why I want to
Not
make it
confusing.
clear as to the difference, because.
Anyone that's moved into their house after March 1st of 2015, that's the first thing. When they have a question, say, when did you purchase your house? If it's prior to that, yes, they can receive it off the school tax bill. If it's after that, they have to register with the state on the taxation and finance website.
Anybody have any questions, Bill? Thank you, Bill. I always miss mine. Come on up.
I was getting nervous.
Yeah.
I have actually a good report, so I want to say that we've now had our new deputy inspector. He's like 3 weeks into the job, and he's doing a great job. Hallelujah, I've got some help, and he's hit the ground running. So Chris Jordan is here, thank you very much. Guys, any
I
questions?
think you guys are aware that Dan did resign.
Yes. That was, I knew that was coming, yeah. But we're in good shape right now. We're moving forward on replacing this year.
Anybody have anything else, Mike? I think we're good. Anybody have questions?
Yeah.
I think it sounds good. All right, Mike, thank you. Constable, Stan?
Your turn.
We had our peace officer academy start last week, Tuesday. We had 10 students enrolled, so it's going along pretty well so far, just the beginning. The end of this month, beginning of next month, we'll be putting together another active shooter training course for the town employees. Based in Mr. Brooks, so and along with that, we've been putting out officers in the evening in the development to try to deter some of these break-ins that are happening during the active times of the competition. Just keeping them on the yard, trying to
Tim Zuber, town engineer.
Good evening. We have just a couple items on our agenda for you this evening. The first one being the result of a meeting that we had on August 30th, where we went through proposed changes to the town code. As a result of that, I believe Drew passed around some changes that were made as a result of that. And we do have a motion in our packet, actually two motions, one of them to begin a coordinator review under secret for the project and refer it to the Niagara County Planning Board. And the second one would be for us to schedule a public hearing to go over those. So those are motions in our packet. The other item we have on our agenda is a proposal for improvements to the town parking lot sidewalk in the back. The town has been talking about doing this and requested to put together a proposal for that, so we have that in here. Our proposal, we didn't go past bidding for this. We usually say construction for a later date when the project does go forward. But our scope includes doing a topographic survey in the back, so we know exactly what our grades are, our constraints, stormwater constraints are. And then putting together design documents for the grading, the layout, and details and everything for that. So we have a motion on that as well.
Another question that Bill had asked tonight, if you're gonna do the design engineering, is that there will be somebody here from Wendell, in fact, we do the paving and back here to monitor the construction, to ensure that it complies?
Yeah, that's why we put in a construction administration and observation proposal at a later date, but yeah, we're gonna have somebody here, so they're monitoring, before the project goes to construction, is reviewing submittals, making sure that they're using the right materials, and yeah, cover construction observations, and making sure that they're actually using the materials that were approved, and installing them. Similar to like what we do for our PA things.
And one other question, I see the motion for 26,000, but I don't see anything about ARPA funds. Will we be intending to use ARPA funds?
I don't think we were.
Or just the construction of the parking lot?
I believe the construction.
So the construction, we use ARPA, but the engineering, we're gonna pay for it ourselves?
I don't even think, Larry, I don't think any of it was done on the ARPA funds. The reason I say that is because we had talked about the total cost of the project is going to exceed what we had in ARPA funds. So, I don't think that's going to come up either.
Okay.
Anything else, sir?
I'm seeing survey and site design, and then I see bidding. You say you're doing construction inspection, also included in that 26,000?
No, we have in here that construction administration and construction inspection, we would come to you with a proposal.
Oh,
yeah. So it's usually based on what they end up construction.
Thanks, Tim. Anybody have any others? Dave Godfrey.
Four quick things. The Purple Heart Memorial is underway. Obviously, the funding was approved at the last legislative meeting. The actual process of getting it going is already moving along, so that was good news. We met with the engineers at the county, so it is a beginning. Hopefully, we'll have ribbon cutting. I'm thinking maybe Memorial Day if we're lucky, but we got a long way to go. Let's see. Secondly, our county ambulance is moving. We hired Tom Eggert, who is extremely experienced in ambulance operations and scheduling. He started just a couple of weeks ago. We introduced him just tonight at our committee meetings. He hit the ground running. He's really a tremendous guy. He's got his act together. So we're looking at probably late fall before we start looking at employees, probably 8 paramedics, 8 EMTs. We're looking at putting 3 rigs on the road. That's the way it is right now. He's actually been able to come up with some really good scheduling criteria. So we're very happy to see that project is moving. And hopefully we'll have some relief to our volunteers early next year. So we got a ways to go. I'm sure that Supervisor McSwan got an invitation for this Thursday. that Dawn and our fire coordinator, Jonathan Schultz, is going to be talking about solar panels and the battery storage at our 911 center this Thursday at 9:30. This is invitation only to government officials, and we will be having them for the general public in a couple of weeks. We do want to have the opportunity to get the input from all of our elected officials before we, start opening up to everybody else. But Dawn has got a really incredible plan. As you know, as of August, the local law at the county that they have to, if you bring it in, you gotta take it out, is in effect, but there's a lot more that we have to do with that going forward. So, I'm sure that invitation is here. I don't know who you are going to be sending, but it's going to be a good session this Thursday.
Dave, one of the things, the town of Wheatfield does have a local law that covers, solar, including battery disposal, bonding, et cetera. So I did talk to Don Tim about it, and pretty much ours is hand in hand with the county's proposal. So, if anybody wants to attend.
Yes, please. If someone would like to attend, yeah, it's going to be quite informative. We'll get a very good agenda set up.
Dave, I got a petition from Hoover Road residents to request a signal being installed on the corner of Hoover Road and Lockport Road. That's the
Yeah,
county road.
I've had that phone call. Yeah,
I'll hand this to you, and what I'll do is do a resolution that the town board will also support, a signal at that intersection. But I'll hand this over to you, Dave.
Okay.
And I told
Perfect.
the lady that, in fact, I would pass it on to you. And her phone number is here. I want to call her, but she was satisfied that we were going to give this to you. There's many people on here. This was at Hoover's area. The problem is it doesn't have a lot of their addresses or anything else. The one page does. But they are requesting that a signal be installed on the corner of Hoover and Lockport Road, not just because of the subdivision, because of the traffic created by the students around the community college. We've been over that. In fact, we have radar sitting there this week, writing up speeding tickets on Hoover Road. So Dave, I'll pass this on to you.
All right. I'll pick that up right after the meeting.
Okay, so.
I had conversations with many people there. As I explained to them, I had the sheriff look at the history of actions at that location, because there's not enough history, even though you might think there is, to warrant a signal. And DOT is the one that has to prove it. They would ask the sheriff's department the same thing. I want to see the history of actions, the severity of actions at that intersection. Also, I let them know that obviously with the base and, of course, the big distribution center, Amazon coming in, there's going to be all sorts of rework, and I'm sure that whole strip there is going to be part of that too, other than work towards the base. So there's a lot down the road, but I certainly, as I told her, be glad to carry that in and push it as far as we can.
Just part of your record.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, talk about the sheriff's department. You might have seen the press release that the sheriff's department put out. These are nice plastic. Those that can't read it up there, Don, I'll read it for you. This is for your businesses. It cannot be restaurants or bars that serve alcohol. And any private businesses, if they would like to tell lawfully concealed carry permittees that they are welcome in their establishment, they must put this up. It's the opposite type of law that hope to put in place. So they are available at the sheriff's office for anybody like that.
I think he's out, Dave. I asked him to provide something. He said he's out of the order more. He's out of the signs right now.
What?
The sheriff's department is out of the signs. He's going to get more and he's going to drop some off.
Oh, okay. This is nice. Did they put the sheriff's department right on here?
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah, hopefully we'll have some soon.
Yeah.
And,
That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Dave? No, if you don't mind, we'll do a quick resolution to support the Hoover Road residents in their venture to obtain a traffic signal on the corner of Lockport Road and Hoover Road.
Okay.
Second. All in favor,
several, first one, Tim had mentioned from Wendell, pursuant to Part 6176 NYCRR Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, is the intent of the town of Wheatfield Town Board to establish itself as secret lead agency and conduct a coordinated review of the proposed revisions to the Town Code, Chapter 200, zoning, Chapter 169, subdivision, and Chapter 198, wind energy systems. The Wheatfield Town Board authorizes Wendell to provide assistance in completing this coordinated review process.
So moved. Motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Again, next motion from Wendell to refer these code revisions to the Niagara County Planning Board to schedule a public hearing on the proposed revisions to the Town Code, Chapter 200, zoning, Chapter 169, subdivision, and Chapter 198, wind energy systems on, and that's the date for the meeting. Well, we already have one later on scheduled a public hearing for October 17th, so if there's enough time to publish, we do it. First one in October, I don't think there's enough time.
September 12th and.
Yeah, yeah.
So October 3rd at 7 p.m.
Sure.
So that would be the motion, October 3rd at 7 p.m.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion again from Wendell, to authorize Wendell to provide design and bidding services for improvements to the town hall parking lot in accordance with the proposal letter dated September 8, 2022, for a time and expense estimated fee of $26,000.
So moved. Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the supervisor's office, resolved to approve the proposal from Kistner Concrete Products for precast concrete retaining wall system for the Veterans Memorial for a total estimated cost of $9,303 without competitive bidding, as they were the sole source for these items.
Motion, I'll make the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Next motion from the Highway Department, resolved to authorize the request of Paul Seaman, Highway Department Superintendent, to allow him to attend the Highway Superintendent's Fall Conference in Elgin from September 20th to the 23rd, with the approximate cost of registration and lodging of $1,000, together with other costs associated, which is possibly being reimbursed by the grant to attend.
So moved. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion again from the Highway Department, resolved to authorize the request of Paul Seaman, Superintendent of the Highway Department, to purchase a new Mack Cannon truck with plow and salter from the New York piggyback bid, and I think I amended that, let me just double check. That was amended, instead of the New York bid, from the Onondaga County piggyback bid price for approximately $320,000 to be paid within the Highway Department's excess fund balance.
So moved. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the Building Department, be it resolved to authorize the schedule of a public hearing on October 17, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. at the Wheatfield Town Hall, 2800 Church Street, North Carolina, New York, 14120, for an excavation permit for Chris Stafford at 6764 Eric Road for a proposed pond of 230 feet in diameter pursuant to Wheatfield Town Code, Chapter 92, requiring a public hearing and permit authorization by the town board.
I'll second it. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Next motion from the town board, resolved to approve the request of Councilman Kurt Doctor to accept the proposal of Cooper sign for an LED sign and tagline in the amount of $6,613 $5,503 for the town's beautification project at the corner of Nash Road and Niagara Falls Boulevard.
So moved. Second. Motion and second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next, motion would be, from Water and Sewer Department and Town Board. This is the state, language. Whereas the State of New York Department of Transportation proposes the reconstruction and the improvement of the intersection improvement project, US Route 62, New York Route 429, Ward Road, and Whitmer Road in the town of Wheatfield, located in Niagara County, PIN 5308.37, D264-814. Whereas the state will include as part of the reconstruction, or improvement of the above-mentioned project, the intersection improvements and the relocation of water lines pursuant to Section 10, Subdivision 24 of the state highway law, as shown on the contract plans relating to the project, and meeting the requirements of the owner. And whereas the state will provide for the reconstruction of the above-mentioned work as shown on the contract plans relating to the above-mentioned project, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Wheatfield approves the intersection improvements and the relocation of water lines and the above-mentioned work to be performed in the project and shown on the contract plans relating to the project, and that the town of Wheatfield will maintain or cause to be maintained the adjusted facilities performed as above stated and as shown on the contract plans. Be it further resolved that Supervisor Donald Swan has the authority to sign with the concurrence of the town board any and all documentation that may become necessary as a result of this project as it relates to the town of Wheatfield. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the town of Wheatfield is hereby directed to transmit 5 certified copies of the foregoing resolution to the New York State Department of Transportation.
Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion, work from the Recreation Department. Resolved at the request of Mike Rinaldi, Recreation Department Director, to authorize the emergency repairs replacement to the air conditioner in the Community and Senior Center by Greater Niagara Inc. as an emergency repair for a price not to exceed $12,000.
So moved.
So I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Again, from the Recreation Department, to authorize the Recreation Department to hire Glenn Lawford for the open full-time groundskeeper position at a rate of pay and term pursuant to the job specifications, and Recreation Department's groundskeeper position pending approval of human resources.
So moved. Second. I have a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Again, from the Recreation Department, motion to authorize the Recreation Department to accept the top bids received to sell surplus from the Recreation Department to it. And those are as described, with the amounts described on the Auctions International sheet that, Mike handed out this evening.
You guys have that total,
I can say that the total amount for all 10 items totals $31,897.50.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from our Budget Director, resolved to approve an amendment to the 2022 Highway Fund budget to use appropriated fund balance to increase the budget appropriations and purchase the new truck, including chassis, box, salter, and plowing as follows, and that is as presented in the motion package.
So moved. For the second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes, we did that one.
Who's the first?
Who made the
I
motion?
made the motion, Jeff.
And second?
Larry.
Take the vote on it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion was a supplementary, I'm sorry. Next motion was a supplemental motion from the Firearm Permit Review Board to approve the firearm discharge permits and/or renewals for the individuals as shown on the attached list.
Motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Next motion from a second supplemental motion sheet, from the town board, resolution to appoint Zachary, or reappoint Zachary Carr to a 5-year term
to the Board of Assessment Review with the term to expire September 30th, 2027. And that would be reappointment.
Second. Motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Again, another supplemental motion for the Highway Department resolved to authorize Paul Seaman, Superintendent of the Town of Wheatfield Highway Department, to execute and sign on behalf of the Town of Wheatfield an intermunicipal agreement with the County of Niagara for the town to receive spoils, millings, and other excess materials from the county pursuant to the terms of the agreement.
I'll make the motion. And we have a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And then I have what I believe is our final supplemental motion, from our budget director. Motion to approve an amendment to the 2022 general fund budget to provide the estimated revenue and budget appropriation for the use of a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act grant to be used for Wendell Engineering to provide design and bidding services for improvements to the town hall parking lot in accordance with their proposal.
I'm not gonna use your.
Correct, can't do that.
That is withdrawn.
It'll be out of my pocket. So,
And that is it for the motions.
you'll get paid, honest, trust me. You're gonna be paid. Okay, let's keep moving there. Let's see, Larry Elwick. Thank you, Larry.
One quick item. I've been looking at the town cell phones that we pay for, air cards and SIM cards. And we have about 5 air cards that the constables and the water sewer department use, and we have 3 SIM cards that the building department uses. We were looking at T-Mobile to see if we could get some better pricing, or if Verizon found out about it after they called me, and I was drilling them to find out what we really had. So Verizon's actually, they've lowered the cost. So they're gonna, essentially, the savings that we would have with T-Mobile, we get to keep what we have with Verizon. So I think that I talked to Rich and Mike Clark about both of those, and they're comfortable with the savings we're gonna get from Verizon to keep it. The switching doesn't make much sense, we're not gonna save that much. So we're gonna stay with Verizon. But it was worth the exercise to save a little money. That's all I have.
Excuse me, sorry, on this motion for Wendell, can we just do a motion to pay them the $26,000 and not address the ARPA funds at all? Okay. So let's do that.
Did that.
We already did that.
You already did that.
Okay. All right. So we're just excluding the ARPA funds.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the Hampton volunteers have finally moved past the permit phase, which was extended beyond close to 2 years. And I got an update on the construction phase. So this is National Niagara Falls Boulevard, so what you're looking at is Hutchinson Concrete is there, completing the work, putting concrete behind the existing granite curbing. Some of you might remember there was a large tree in the center there and a whole bunch of landscaping that's since been removed. And now what I think you'll notice is the wall behind, which was very much obstructed by the landscaping, is not in great shape. So that leads me to the next phase. Fingers Plus is going to come and put a coat of stain on there. Coming up here a little bit later in September as the next phase. I'm also working with Joel Roy to bring electricity to the wall, which is going to be needed for a future LED sign. But we expect that this is going to be complete this fall, sometime hopefully before November, before the snow starts flying. So things are going really well, and I just wanted to thank Rita and Tom Contact for all their work to help manage the project. They're out there, they captured some of these pictures. Other than that, if there's no questions on the wall, I'll move on to LED lights. Now, one last report for everybody on on that. As some of you might remember that a couple of years ago, we converted our, roadway streetlights to LED. It was in 2020, and we were evaluating if it made sense for us to convert our acorn lights in all of our subdivisions. We have about 200 of those lights, and we got the numbers from National Grid, and it's a much longer payoff than what we saw with the roadway streetlights. That was about a 2-year payoff. For the subdivision lights, it's closer to 6 years. So it's not really financially worth it to do it, so we're gonna nix it. The good news is, once National Grid runs out of their inventory of high-pressure sodium lights, they're gonna start replacing our lights with LED at no cost to us. So eventually, all of our lights will be converted to LED.
This would include the acorn.
This is the only the acorn light which will be converted. And that's my report.
Thank you. Let's go to Randy Russell.
I have nothing.
And Bill Doucette.
Merkel's Fire Hall would like to add Austin Vickery and James Bernhardt Jr. as active fire halls to the rest. And I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. The only thing that I have that was I brought up tonight is, the petition to put the signal on Hoover Road and Lockhorn Road. And that's all I have tonight. Any further public input? Yes, Paul?
Just a couple questions real fast.
Yeah.
When we're talking about pushing for this light for Hoover Road,
Yes.
I please hope we make this the county's responsibility, we don't take on another light.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The other thing was, the gentleman that's putting a permit in for a pond, are we allowed to haul topsoil out of town? Because I've had a bunch of phone calls that he's hauling topsoil off that property.
You know, you have to talk to Mike. If he's hauling topsoil out of there now and he's digging the pond without a permit, then he should be stopped.
I don't think he's digging the pond, I think he just pushed up a lot of topsoil. I just had a couple phone calls that asked me about it. I didn't know if Mike was on that or if he noticed it. Oh, he's gone.
Yes, if it's excess topsoil, I think that's the way it's always been, that he can remove it. If it's just strictly topsoil, that's a no. I would say check with Mike Clark, Molly, to see what the status is.
He doesn't even have a permit yet.
No, he doesn't.
Well, yeah, he's working a little backward. My only other question is, this $26,000 for Wendell for that parking lot, is that including handicap accessibility improvements too, or is it just the parking lot?
It's a whole lot.
Starting from the door, working out.
Okay,
Anything else?
no, that's it.
Any other public input? How are you guys feeling?
We're getting there.
Getting there, huh? I can agree.
Just stay away from us.
Our next meeting is October 3rd, 2022, and we're gonna do a quick executive session to discuss, tongue tie tonight. Discuss a financial matter, and then if you would attend, please, just for a moment, well, it shouldn't take long, just for a few minutes, okay? Thank you, comments, folks? Executive session?
Mike, you don't ever see the
All in favor,
other.
signify by saying aye. Aye. We're looking back to session.
Thank you. Well, like already know. Pretty good knowledge. Yep. I got two questions. Yep.
pot. You know that's not true. I'm not gonna do that.
Can I make a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are out of executive session. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you. Randy, good luck.
All right, yep. I'll let you know about the third. Yeah, thank you.
My brother, I have to look it up. He's got a two. These guys live it up.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Hey, Gil, are you
Oh.
going to?
He had to go up at 6 o'clock in the morning to have a COVID test.
Yeah, I gotta get it tomorrow. Hopefully, man, that's.
I'm gonna catch the deer, second half of the deer.